go live. And all right, I think we are live now. Finally. Sorry, technical difficulties getting in.
It happens.
Yeah, it does. But we are back with another episode of Films and Fandoms with Kaylee and Alex. So tonight we're going to be talking season 1, episode 3 of Hudson and Rex, titled Haunted by the Past. So before we get into this episode, stupid freaking train. Before we get into this episode, I want to thank our sponsor, notgood.org. And if you want to support our podcast, you can find us on Ko-Fi at Films and Fandoms. You can buy a coffee. That helps supports both me and Alex as content creators. So again, the name of this episode of Hudson and Rex that we'll be talking about today is Haunted by the Past. So a summary for this episode is Charlie and Rex discover a body in a cemetery and discover the connection with the cold case, and Donovan asks Charlie to follow his daughter as he's suspicious of her. So
I literally just watched this episode like a few days ago.
Yeah, so me too. So the director for
No,
this
because it was on my free TV app on my streaming TV.
oh my god. So the director for this episode is Felipe Rodriguez. The writers for this episode are Paul Aitkins and Simon McNabb. So, as always, shout out to the director and the writers of this episode and behind the scenes peeps. So, we get a little paranormal activity at the beginning of this episode as we see Tyler doing a little ghost hunting when he uncovers Nancy. And we find out that the reason he's at that particular cemetery is he was and got a tip there by someone named Malcolm 98. And I like how that ties in to later, like the username. And I must say, this is why I stay away from the paranormal because I don't do spooky.
Well, this was a few years ago when my brother had just graduated from boot camp. We were in San Diego. And I went to not one but two cemeteries. Both were fucking haunted as hell. And then we went to the Whaley House there in San Diego. And it was right down the road from our hotel. And something walked by my fucking arm in the glass display case. I caught it on camera.
You'll have to send me that. You'll have to send me that clip if you still have it.
I don't have it. It's on my old phone. It got deleted.
But no.
Holy shit. And my dad was with me. It was just the two of us, and then the group of, I think there was like 5 or 6 of us, and I got picked out by our like lead guy to hold the fucking lantern, and I was ghost bait pretty much. And my dad got poked. My dad got touched, and I felt something walk by my arm.
Oh my god,
that scared me. But it was really cool to get to see that house, and I was internally fangirling. Because I'm like, Ghost Adventures has been to this house before, and there's a couple of other paranormal groups who've been to this house, and I'm walking in their footsteps and actually getting to experience this house, and it was really cool because the way that it's set up, is the bottom part is one half is the general store, the other half is like the um like courtroom thing because he was a lawyer or judge or something. And then upstairs was like the living space, and we got to walk around and like go to different rooms. It was cool but creepy.
Like I said, did you see in the news the one Ghost Adventure? I think it was Aaron.
Yep, I saw what happened to him. I felt so bad for him. He's
Uh,
my favorite guy.
I don't know. It's sad. Like like everyone, like who I've ever heard say anything about him says how like he's such a sweet guy, and like
Yeah, he chose the wrong one.
yeah, and then like his fucking ex-wife tries to put out a hit on him.
Yep, and it failed because she tried to use her credit card. I think it was.
No, I don't. I know she was communicating with like someone in prison who got busted for like
Yep,
the
it was
like the.
the. I think it was the phone call.
I think it was a
She
phone.
called. Yeah.
Like, so
Yep.
so
Ugh,
I'm
poor
a huge.
Aaron.
I'm a fan of well, he used to be a YouTuber, but now he mainly does TikTok. Ray William Johnson. He made a video on that, which
Yeah,
is how
I
I know about
saw it.
it. And if I remember correctly, she got busted because the guy she was talking to in prison that she was, catching feelings for had a contraband phone. And he got caught with the contraband phone.
Yep, and there were like texts and stuff
And
I think on there that
yeah, and
she was
so what
talking about like how to do it and like what she wanted to have happen. But yeah,
yeah.
and he was freaked out. He even texted Zach and was like, "Yeah, my ex tried to have a murder for hire plot," and Zach
Mhm.
was like, "What the fuck?" And even like Dakota and them of Destination Fear were like, "Are you okay?" And he goes, "Yeah, I'm just a little freaked out, a little scared."
Well, no
And he
shit.
and he immediately moved out of the house that they shared into
Right.
an
He
apartment.
filed for divorce too, which thank fuck he did
Yeah,
that.
thank God. And a protection order as well.
Well, I'd fucking hope so.
But she is actually, I think, currently in jail right now.
Yeah. And I think the guy she was
Good
like,
riddance.
yeah, but the whole like reason she
And the
did
guy
that was,
that she tried to, yeah, the guy that she tried to hire snitched.
well, because he got
To
caught
help
with
the cops.
the,
Yeah.
the guy she was originally communicating, she was like doing all this essentially for, was in prison because he got caught stalking a cam girl.
People are stupid.
But yeah, yeah, I work at an airport. Trust me, I know people are fucking stupid. But that's just a whole different level of incomprehensible stupid.
Oh, and this is some redneck shit right here. I sleep with a mini bat under my pillow.
And you know what? There's a reason Dean Winchester sleeps with a fucking gun under his bed. Or no, knife. It was a knife.
Yeah.
He slept
No,
with
it was it was
a regular. It was a gun or
yeah,
a
well,
knife.
it was a gun. His pearl handled Colt, and Jack went to wake him up.
But that was later
But yeah,
seasons. We're in early Supernatural though.
it was a knife.
You gotta say so. See, you
But yeah,
ain't paranoid. It's true.
I sleep with a bat
Yeah.
under my pillow and a knife too. So, and I
I
know how to swing this thing, so I could do some damage. This is actually
when
work.
I go to work, I carry like a club thing that there's like a like Kubler thing. You hold it between
Hmm.
your fingers, like you would like your
Yep,
keys,
it's like the cat
like
face. Yeah, and you could punch somebody
yeah,
with it. It's
yeah. It's meant to
pointy.
hurt more than a punch, is the thing, and it has the
Yeah,
DNA here. So
but
like
yeah,
if
and then
let it burn up to bleed, the blood catches, so they can use it for DNA.
and then I actually have a knife that has a little ring on the end, and I
Mm,
can put it between my knuckles, and I can punch somebody with it. and it
Uh,
makes my knuckles a lot harder. And then I could cut them if I needed to. So it's actually designed for fighting. There's a fight like training thing that you can use with that knife. It's
uh,
actually legit used for fighting.
all
So
right,
yeah,
so I'm gonna move on a bit. Is yeah,
yeah,
so
that actually popped up into my head when I was watching this episode. It's like people
yeah,
need to like learn how to properly protect themselves so they don't get dead in the show.
yeah. Well, in this case, well, to be fair, Nancy wasn't actually dead.
But
She was
still,
she was almost, but then I guess paramedics had brought her back. But essentially, so they brought her back, but she was still like in a coma. So she's in the hospital. We find out her name is Nancy Rubik, 26. And of course, as you know, Rex and Charlie are investigating the crime scene. Rex sniffs out her cell phone. And of course, her phone's locked. So, uh, uh, so Charlie bags it and then asks Sarah if he could use, like, if he can keep it for a bit so he can give it to Jesse to unlock it.
you have to see if there's any like reason to like behind like the attack and stuff.
Yeah.
Basically, it looks like,
Basically, there
or
he wants to
or if
figure
there are
out
any
who,
clues or anything.
yeah, like maybe who she was last in contact with.
Yep. And then it gets pretty interesting from there.
Yeah, because then and then we kind of go and like, of course, Charlie, Rex, and Sarah are all like investigating, and then we go back. Donovan's getting, I don't know, getting pretty heated on a phone call with his teenage daughter Camilla. She hangs up on him, and then of course Charlie is like, you know what, I'll just come back because Donovan, it's like
But
clear,
Donovan's face.
yeah, because he's
He's
like
like
zoned
he's
out.
like, no, 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 no. You just get your butt in here and tell me what's going on.
Yeah, and of course Charlie says, you know, I'm getting, you know, I'll just get some more info on the Rubik case, which of course piques Donovan's just like, wait, Rubik, like as in Malcolm Rubik?
He's like, I know that name.
Charlie's
And
like,
you can see the gears turning in Donovan's head. That
yeah,
was kind of
because we
funny.
found out that Donovan or that there was a cold case back, I'm assuming when Donovan was first in his police career, where it was a case of a missing boy. They never found the body. And the name Malcolm Rubik. And they start, you know, they piece together that the latest victim was Malcolm's older sister, who was only like 5 or 6, you know, when her brother went missing. So they're thinking these two cases are connected. And then, you know, Charlie and Rex go meet Sarah at the hospital because she's doing a, you know, like she's like testing for DNA under the fingernails, that kind of stuff on Nancy.
I uh I just forgot.
What?
We're talking about kind of like a creepy episode, and it's Friday the 13th.
That is true. I did not even think of that. I wasn't even planning that, but fuck it, we're rolling with it. So we're rolling with it. So no, there's just because QC or Rex is kind of like whining at the donut because there's like a tray of donuts at the hospital. It was funny is the one cop who's like stationed outside Nancy's room, and Rex is just sitting there whining at the donut. He's like, I know the feeling. It's like, no, Rex, you can have a donut.
But I mean, to be fair, if he wanted to, he could really bug Charlie about it.
Yeah. And to be fair, it does work 98% of the time.
True.
And we do actually also get, so basically Nancy's prognosis is kind of iffy, whether she's going to be able to wake up or not. She's on a vent, but basically the vent, it's not, like they're planning on it just being a temporary thing to let her lungs heal enough to where she can breathe on her own. But they're planning on slowly weaning her off that. So like, yeah, so see, a lot of people think that like being on a vent is like a death sentence. It really isn't. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's not
It
exactly good. It's not a good
okay.
thing. It's not a
Yeah,
good thing
but
either. But
yeah. If you're on it for a short term, it's good to help your lungs like rehabilitate, like after like carbon monoxide or whatever, and if you like black out and you can't breathe on your own, or like after surgery, and you're on a vent, like if you had like throat surgery and you can't breathe normally through your mouth, it's a good thing for a short term, but long term, yeah, you could get like pneumonia and it could kill you.
yeah,
Short
'cause-
term good, long term bad.
yeah. Well, I mean, I'd argue both are bad. Just one's less of a death sentence than the other. But
Exactly. But I
yeah,
mean, it's a last resort. Like if regular like oxygen
yeah,
masks and stuff like that and non-rebreathers aren't working, you can tell that I this kind of takes me off a little bit. It's like, well, why didn't they try like a non-rebreather on her before the ventilator? And
well, it was strange.
even if she's like even
I
though
don't
she's
know.
unconscious, like what?
I don't know if that affects anything, but she was strangled. So they could be worried about like damage to the throat.
Well, depending on how much pressure was applied. I'm
Well,
I'm
it's
thinking
enough.
of this from like a medical standpoint because I watch a lot of fucking medical shows. Uh,
eh,
but at the same time, yeah, it could have been like a last resort to try to
Yeah,
like boost up her oxygen because depending on how long she was at without oxygen, it could have
or maybe
done
her,
damage to the
or
tissues
maybe her,
around her throat.
yeah, maybe there's
That's
like
what I'm
enough
thinking.
damage where like masks and rebreathers wouldn't have gotten the oxygenation.
Yeah,
I don't know.
but
Take
yeah,
everything we say as
yeah,
a grain
I
of salt. We are not certified medical professionals.
sure, but I've
We're
seen a
just
shit ton of like medical shows.
so take what we say with a grain of salt and do not use this for actual medical advice. If you have any medical concerns, please contact a actual certified medical professional that went to college for said medical profession. That is your PSA for the
Uh,
day. Uh, so going back to the episode, Charlie going back to Donovan to give him like an update, and Charlie's trying to ask like what's going on, and Donovan thinks that his daughter's doing drugs. And Charles like, no, she's not doing drugs. But Donovan's like, she's keeping things from me. She's being like acting all sketchy. She's not telling me things. When she leaves, she doesn't travel with her phone. And what teenager travels without their phone? Charles like, come on, she's not doing drugs. But then he says, like, doesn't every dad think their teenager is doing drugs? And my note is, and mine didn't because he wasn't around.
I mean, mine
And
was more
emotion,
concerned with. I mean, mine was more concerned with if I was coming home safe
yeah.
instead of like
But
passing out or
my
something
mom,
like that. But I mean, well, with my brother, yeah, he was concerned, and then his suspicions were confirmed at one point.
mm, yeah, yeah, no,
Yeah,
my mom. would have whooped my ass. So,
Oh, my mom did. My mom beat his ass.
oh, I don't doubt, I don't doubt that. I'm just saying, my mom would have whooped my ass, and I would never be allowed to leave the house again. And to be fair, I had two drug addict grandparents. Both are now dead due to said addiction. So, yeah, all my mom had to be like, "Let's see, that's what happened." I'm like, "Okay, yep, nope, moving on." So, so, so anyway, Charlie, no, he makes a joke just like, you need Anita Rex. We can't hide drugs from a drug sniffing dog. And then Donovan gets the idea. Charlie's like, no. And then Donovan goes to give him like the key to his place. Donovan's like, you know what? Like, your Rex will be out in like you'll be out in like 5 minutes. This is what time she gets home. Like, go to the house, take Rex with you, see if she has hiding drugs at the house. And then, of course, Jesse has to interrupt,
Of
saying he
course,
unlocked.
typical Jesse.
Yeah. So, but Jesse did indeed unlock Nancy's phone because, of course, the passcode was her birthday. And so it turns out that Tyler was the last person that Nancy contacted. And all he texted her was HE, or all she texted him, sorry, was HEL. So we don't actually know what she was trying to say. So she could have been saying like help, something like that. So of course, now they got to go see Tyler. And also, as they're uh, doing that, they find out that Nancy bought her childhood home. So they go back to her home, and there's a neighbor's car that has a fan belt that's squeaking. It needs replaced. Which, of course, to Rex is like nails on a chalkboard. And then the neighbor, Ben, incredibly sus. And we also find out that, or then Sarah comes in to do forensics on the house. And they find out that Nancy's been looking into her brother's disappearance. And she suspects original suspect in the case, Floyd Walker. He was Malcolm's math tutor. And also, she's been seeing a psychic, and uh, also was communicating with Tyler, so they actually confirm that she is Malcolm 98. And you also find out that Floyd had sent her a threatening email. So of course, threatening email. In Charlie's mind, next suspect on this list he needs to investigate, Floyd. So Charlie goes to Floyd's place. Floyd, of course, is all pissed off, like, get off my lawn. Or is like, get away. And Charlie shows him the email, is asking him about it. And we find out that Floyd wasn't he was threatening like legal action against Nancy for harassing him because she kept showing up to his place. And he was the only suspect in the original case. And what at least Floyd's suspicion is, and what was probably true back in the day, was that Floyd was a gay teacher, and a male student goes missing, and Floyd was the last person seen with them. And unfortunately, there's a negative correlation that a lot of people have between, to quote, to use a phrase from Ray William Johnson, because I don't want to say the actual word, we'll just say P30Os. Floyd was essentially railroaded. At least that's what he thinks. Probably was true given what like we see later. And but because there was no body, no one could pin anything, but basically he was done after that. And so that's why he was so upset. And that's also, and because Nancy was harassing him, that's why he was threatening legal action. And once Charlie's kind of satisfied with that answer, he goes to Donovan's house, does get busted by Camilla. And he is a terrible liar. So back at the bullpen, Jesse confirms that Nancy saw this psychic Rita pretty regularly, and going into journals, and that when when they go to visit Rita, Rita reveals that Nancy had journals and she had vivid dreams of the church. And I actually kind of like this next scene. Charlie's, taking the journals home and he's reading them. And then you see, as he's reading it, he has like a weird dream. He sees like Malcolm screaming, and then he turns and he sees two Rex. And then he just wakes up. And of course, Rex immediately is like perking up, like what's wrong, Dad? And he's like whining a bit, like, Dad, you okay? You had a nightmare.
That was really, really cute.
It was. But then Charlie and Rex decided to do a little bit of ghost hunting and run into Tyler.
Of course.
And of course, Charles like, like what are you doing here? Like, this is an active crime scene. And Rex finds an actual dead body, which they're in the cemetery.
Of course.
But this is a dead body that was like marked by a headstone. It was under like a bunch of concrete slabs. So, and basically, yes. And Sarah suspects that that the body is Malcolm, though they can't like officially confirm it yet without Sarah doing more testing. And then the priest that we saw earlier in the episode starts getting kind of loud with someone in a car, saying he needs to like to admit his guilt. Hold on, goats, get down. Thank you. Sorry, my cat wasn't where she was where she wasn't supposed to be. So, of course, Charlie questions the priest about it, and finds red cedars chips on his shoes, and he just kind of wipes his feet, not thinking. Of course, Charlie goes to confront Floyd again because that's whose car it was. Floyd's trying to packing up a bag. So Charlie's like, "What, you bolting?" And he's like, "No, I'm just staying with my sister for a bit." And then we find out, Charlie presses him a bit more, and we find out that Floyd does feel guilty, but it's because Malcolm had asked him for a ride home and said no. Not for any reason in particular, he just said no. And he feels guilty because had he just given Malcolm a ride, then maybe, he might not have he might not have gone missing. So that's like that's what the guilt is for. Like that's what the guilt's about. And then of course as they take Floyd in for they take Floyd to the station to write a statement. Charlie gets a call from Rita, the psychic, saying that she's getting attacked. So Charlie's got to go with Rex over to there. And Rex finds cedar chips on the porch. And Rita's mostly okay, but she didn't see who attacked her. But they were after Nancy's journals. They also get confirmed by Sarah that it was actually Malcolm. So it is actually confirmed now that Malcolm was the one buried. Hold on, my cat's. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I thought my cat knocked my damn trash can over. Coda, don't be playing with my damn trash can. You got toys. Play with them. Sorry. Anyways. So, or now that they confirm that the body that they found in the cemetery under the concrete slabs was Malcolm, they also find that they had paint chips on his body. And then Charlie and Sarah, or Charlie asked Sarah to go with them to follow Camilla. So it's actually kind of cute this scene because they're having like a little takeout car date. And Charlie's making a joke like, it takes months to get on the wait list, but I just happened to know the matcha day. And of course, there is.
That boy is such an idiot sometimes when it comes to him trying to flirt.
You know what? It kind of worked. I'm not gonna lie. It kind of worked.
Okay, I will say later on he gets better at flirting. But right
He does.
now, oh boy, you don't know how to flirt.
Yeah.
It's
So
ridiculous.
yeah. So of course, Charlie, Sarah, see Camilla. She's coming down like by a gate, and then she's meeting up with someone else. You don't exactly see Hugh because they got their hood up. And then, of course, Charlie wants to go and, stop it, because he's thinking maybe Camilla's buying drugs. But then Sarah's like, no, 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 wait. And then Camilla kisses them. And then they took the hood down. You see it's a woman. And Camilla kisses him. And then, of course, like Sarah's like, oh, how cute. She's meeting up with the girlfriend. While Charlie's like, oh, shit. Because see, there's two elements. There's two parts of the oh shit elements for Charlie here. Okay,
Yep.
because not only does he not have to deal with the potential coming out conversation,
Mm-hmm.
But he also has to deal with the fact that his boss, he just caught his boss's daughter sneaking out to go kiss a girl, which is a whole other thing. So he's like double, he's double on the ocean.
It's kind of like being caught by your uncle kissing someone you're not supposed to.
Yeah, that's kind of a little bit what's going on here. Because
That's
Charlie,
kind
he's
of the vibe I got.
because he doesn't obviously like he's thinking, oh shit, this is about to be so much more complicated because I'm not the one who needs to be having this coming out conversation with my boss and my friend. And then of course, Rex has to bark, freaking snitching on Charlie. And of course, thing was like, Charlie? And then Charlie immediately gets out of the car and is like, look, I'm sorry. You're like, I'm not going to tell your dad anything. And I'm just like, what? He's like, oh, no, no, my dad knows I like girls. And Charlie's like, okay, that's one less thing in his head. Is probably, okay, that's one less conversation I need to have with my boss.
Yep.
And it's like, and then he asks her, like, then he's like, they're like, why hide this? I was like, because I promised. No, because like I promised my dad I wouldn't date until after high school, and yeah, Tara's like, look, I'm not going to say anything, but you need to talk to him. Okay, he's worried about you. Then Charlie gets back in the car, and you just see Sarah's having a fucking blast.
The smile on her face.
Oh yeah, and Charlie's like,
That's like a proud aunt moment right there.
yeah,
Literally. And Charlie's like the disappointed uncle.
yeah. I think it's weird. What
It's a family dynamic. You can kind of tell a little bit, which is freaking hilarious.
then Sarah makes a joke. It's like, or it's like, oh, dinner and a show.
Sarah!
She was just finding it funny as hell that Charlie was making a fool of himself because he thought he had to have a coming out conversation, even though he probably has no experience whatsoever. So, anyways, Charlie goes to check in on Jesse and Tyler, who are at Tyler's studio, and they are kind of going over his audio file, see if like maybe something but some one of them picked up on some. And so it turns out, so what's funny is Rex walks in, they're playing an audio clip, and then Rex starts barking, and so Jesse pauses it to look at Rex because it's wondering why he's barking, and then all of a sudden Rex stops barking. And of course they get confused for a minute because it's like why did Rex start barking? And so Charlie, of course, Tyler thinks, oh, they could pick up on like spirit, or he is doing like some natural thing. And Charlie's like, no, he just hears much better than us. Can you like? And he asked Jesse to like amplify to like a different sound so they could hear it.
Yeah, it was like the background noise. Like maybe
Yeah,
there's something in the background, like
it's
audio that
actually
he can hear.
especially German shepherds.
Yep. Mine
They
can hear a high pitched frequency. She can hear it.
Yeah, dogs can hear at a higher frequency than humans can, which is
Like
why
she heard
was
the brake squeak from the UPS truck over a block away and immediately started barking. And then I looked at it. It was the UPS truck. I'm like, really? Seriously?
uh, awesome. I know actually like younger people hear different tones than older people do.
The fridge door alarm beeping. I can hear it.
And that
My
reminds
dad
me, I just
can't.
rewatched. So I'm getting a buddy of mine into the librarians, and we finished season one, and we're starting season two. So recently we watched the episode in the City of Light. Yeah, yeah, I cried, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm not going to talk about that episode because I'm not going to talk about that part because I'm going to cry again if I talk about that part. But the part I
I know
am
what
going to,
part you're talking about.
yes, but
But
the
oh my
actual
gosh,
part,
the light. The lanterns are really pretty.
they are though. I will say that. But the part I'm actually talking about is the fact that Cassie uses mosquito frequency in order to hint to the other guys that something's going wrong with their, with the generator. And she explains that younger people hear at a different frequency than older people. Ezekiel was the only one to be able to hear. I mean, Jenkins
Wait,
was so offended. He knows better. But Jake was so fucking offended. She called him old.
and the look on his face. I personally think that was the actor, not the character being angry.
It was a little bit like in Leverage Redemption when Brianna's like in the fractured job when Brianna's like, "You haven't seen your dad in 60 years?" And no, it's like yeah, it's
Like,
like
damn it, I'm not that old.
yeah, it's like, but I'm not that freaking old, Brianna. It's like, boy, you're 52. What the hell are you talking?
And then with
You're all looking
or like
fine.
the generational like oldness between Brianna and Hardison is like it's like with the script kitty.
Yeah, except that
Oh,
was when
that
Elliot got his
oh,
revenge.
I know.
That was full on Elliot getting his revenge for all the times he's had to put up with Horace and shit.
Oh, but yeah, the sweet revenge. Person had to feel the pain.
And I
It
don't
was
know if you
kind of in this, but yeah, in this Hudson and Rex episode, it kind of, there's a moment where Charlie was like, "Damn, I feel old,"
little bit.
and I love it.
One last thing. In Leverage Redemption season 3, there's in season 2 or episode 2 of season 3. Have you seen that episode?
Nope, I'm behind. Oops.
Get caught up, girl. Okay, I think okay. It
But I
you know
don't
I
care if you spoil it. I don't care.
Okay, well, I'm not gonna go into like plot stuff. I'm just gonna do a funny bit, but basically, Brianna's getting. Well, I'm gonna try not. Yeah. So basically, Brianna's all happy, and she's like, thinking she's better than Hardison. And then Elliot's just like walking, like, "You sure about that?" And then Brianna's going like, "Hardison ain't she?" And then you just see she bumps into Hardison. You just standing there like, "You talking shit?"
I
And then
saw that clip. I saw that clip on the TikTok. The look on it, and I
I just
that
love that.
that was
Because Elliot's
partially that was also oh god, I was laughing so hard I couldn't breathe. Ugh.
Horace ain't she?
And she backs up. I want to know how many times I had to film that. Probably
Oh,
a lot.
okay. Okay. We need to get back to the actual episode. So, because of the belt squeal, Charlie is now suspecting Ben, the neighbor. So, Charlie and Rex go to find Ben's house or go to Nancy's house to go around. Uh, sorry. Charlie has Rex go around the back. And of course, Ben tackles Charlie. They get into a tussle. Charlie loses his gun. Ben grabs it. And what's funny is I like the subtle way that Charlie is signaling Rex, to like go down. And then you just hear like, Rex, go. And then Rex goes tackles.
That was,
But
and I've noticed that from this episode to the next one, he uses more hand motions to like signal Rex to like lay down and like come closer.
yeah.
Very more of like police hand movements, which I've noticed. That
Yeah.
cops actually use with their canines, which is really cool.
Part
Because
of
I have a
me
canine officer that lives like on the other side of one of my neighbors. He lives over here on my street, and I've
mm,
seen him practice with his dog, and he uses the same hand movements, and it's pretty neat.
mm. And so basically we find out like what exactly happened. So basically Ben had gone out after a job. He had had a couple he had a couple drinks, with his boys, and it had rained. Because that's also like what Floyd had been talking about is he like when he was saying like why he was guilty, that he said no because or he said no to giving Malcolm a ride just because he didn't want to. Then he said it rained and it was like pouring, and then he felt guilty because you know he felt guilty because of that. And same thing happened with Ben. He had a couple drinks. He was driving back home, and he basically accidentally hit Malcolm because it was raining and he had trouble seeing in the rain and he was drunk, which affects your vision.
Yep.
And he was scared of
And it
getting caught.
also and it also affects your depth perception. So he thought he was further away than what he was.
Yeah. And that's the point. Like he's saying, it was an accident. Like it was like raining and like I had a couple drinks and like he came out of nowhere. And
He was
so
like, I didn't mean.
and
He
that's
was basically, I kind of felt like he was excusing the fact that he was drunk and he killed someone. That's how I see it. He made an excuse for it, but
yeah.
he fessed up to it. He's like, "Yeah, I did it, but I didn't mean to,"
Yeah.
and he was sorry about it. So,
Yeah. And
but at the same
that's what
time,
was like,
but at the
why
same time, he was making excuses, which is
yes.
not right. That's up to
Yes.
what you do.
Yes. And that's also like what Charlie tells him, he's like, then why didn't you go to the police?
Because the
And
cynic
that's
is fleeing the
what
scene.
is drunk.
Basically, from a law standpoint, what he did was flee the scene of a hit and run, which is
Yeah.
a crime.
And also, but then he made it worse for himself when because apparently he used to do landscaping at the cemetery, which is how like he was able to get in, and that's why he buried Malcolm in the cemetery.
Yeah.
Of course, and then Nancy. So then like he found out Nancy was investigating, and he got scared that maybe she had saw something, and like thought she was closing in on him, and so that's why he attacked her. He lured her to the cemetery, and then or no, he didn't lure her. He because she had been talking about the church, and then he found out about it. So he went to find her, and uh, he and that's when he attacked her, and he was scared. Yeah, that he would get caught. So that's why he attacked Nancy. So of course Ben gets arrested, and like the like Charlie's like gives and like he pats on his chest like give me some love, and then Rex like jumps up like because he's a good boy,
Yep.
goodest of boys. And of course, they go to the hospital, find out, or no. And then Charlie goes to the cemetery, or no, goes back to the bullpen. Why did I say cemetery? Charlie goes back to the bullpen to kind of like finish up. And Donovan is kind of talking to him, and Charlie, reveals like, he's having trouble believing in the supernatural psychics and, how he had his own dream of that led to the church. And that's why he was there. And Nancy kept having these recurring dreams of the church, where Malcolm was buried. And he's starting to wonder if like the supernatural does exist. Like he's starting to like, well, no, he's basically confused because he's like, I
Yeah.
can't put logic behind this. So it's like confusing him, but he doesn't know what to think about it. Then of course Donovan's got to give him a little bit of shit about it.
I love the fact that he teases them about it.
Yeah, but then
Mm.
as Donovan goes to leave, he's like, "Hey, by the way, Camilla finally got a hold of me. She said she wants me to meet someone." And then of course Charlie and Rex are kind of looking at each other like, like uh like we say nothing that we say we're not saying that we're not saying that. Okay. And Donovan's like, "You wouldn't happen to know about this, would you?" She's like, "Nope, nope,
Just like,
wouldn't know,
no. Nope.
no." Wait, like Charlie, you're a fucking cop. You should know. You should know how to lie. And of course, Donovan
But the boy
knows.
doesn't.
No, he doesn't. But Donovan knows that Charlie's lying, but like he kind of lets it go.
Yep. And the smile on his face a little bit. He's like, alright, I know you're lying, but whatever. I don't care.
Like it's clearly not something not that
It's
serious.
it's for a good reason.
Yeah,
For
so
a
I'm
good
gonna let
reason.
it go. And then we find out that Nancy. Then we go to we find out Nancy is up and awake at the hospital and she got cleared, so she's all right. And Rex wants a freaking donut.
Give him a donut already.
I know. But Nancy, we find out that Nancy apparently saw Malcolm while she was in her coma. And now, like, or she's satisfied that, like, he's at peace now that, like, his body's been found and they can have, like, a proper burial for him. And of course, she invites the SJPD.
Aww.
And
That
that's
was
kind of
like
how,
the cutest moment. Honestly, I think that she finally got closure.
yeah, like, not only does she get closure and can actually, like, bury your brother.
Yeah. She's not gonna do it alone.
Yeah. But that was
And
my
that the
last.
guy that I like the fact that yeah, the guy that did it ultimately confessed, but at the same time, he should have done it from the beginning. He should have done it from the moment that it happened, instead of just burying Malcolm and just sweeping it under the rug. That kind of
Yeah.
pissed me off a little bit. Man, I watched too many like other cop shows and stuff. So that was going through my head. I'm like, dude, what the heck? But I love this
So,
episode. It was so cute.
yeah. All right. So those are all my notes. Did you have anything else you wanted to add?
Just that like, oh, did you notice like the camera angles were a little different? Like the way that they shot was a little bit different this time around.
Yeah.
It was a little bit more steady than like the other few episodes.
Yeah.
Yet they use more of like a set. They use a few more steady cam operators. I've noticed because when I watched the end credits, they had like 2 or 3 more steady cam guys than what they normally do, which is really
I
cool.
thought yeah.
Um, but then again, the writers on the show, they know their shit.
They do. Yeah. I think they do actually like write a pretty decent script. And then you got John Reardon and
He gets
Macchio.
to, she does such a
And,
good job. They all do.
and
They all
even
do a fantastic job of acting.
and Diesel, R.I.P. Diesel.
And of course, Dylan as well. Goodest pupper ever.
Yes.
And you can tell that even Dylan's interaction with John, there's some
Yeah.
bonding going on there.
Yeah, and also
I've seen I've seen one of the newest like episodes from the Hudson and
yeah,
Rex. One.
don't even get caught up. I'm kinda
Well, I keep watching the same episode, old episodes. I need to find like all of like the newest episodes and watch them.
yeah, I need to go back and watch the newer episodes. Though there are so many
But
fans.
okay. So I watched what was
This
it?
I
It
think
was
there's
I think it was it was the one of the dog competition episodes or something. And freaking John's wife was in the episode.
no.
Yeah, yeah.
Wait,
There's an yeah. It was from I can't remember what season. It was like it was from season 5. Um, there's an episode where his wife is in the show.
he was in Tron Legacy. Megan Ori. Megan Ori. Uh, uh, Believe it, Christmas, Savage Cop. Is she in Savage Caution? I didn't realize that.
Rex to Riches was the episode. Rex to Riches is the episode that I watched. That was from season 5,
Yeah, she's
and she's in
DC.
the episode. It took me a second to realize who she was. I'm like, that's his wifey.
The Deputy Chief Adele Tennant.
Yep, his wifey is in the episode. And I giggled.
And
I was watching it with my mom, and I started laughing, and she goes, "What's so funny?" I go, "See the lady in the suit?" She goes, "Yeah, that is the actor John Reardon's wife in real life." And she goes,
she was
"What?" I go, "Yep,
reminded in Once Upon a Time. But
yep,
Sally, an episode of Supernatural.
yep." I recognize her from Once Upon a Time as Red, which is freaking awesome.
Oh my god.
Right.
She's in the Supernatural episode The Adventures in Babysitting.
I know. Plus several others, but yeah, like their dynamic is really really cute, and you can tell in their body language that they love each other.
Oh yeah.
That's freaking hilarious.
Oh, she's the vampire in that one. But now I'm curious. Megan, oh, she was in Smallville. Just in one episode of Smallville, but all right. Anyways, So yeah, I'm gonna have to keep an eye out when we get to those episodes. I'll just have to make note of that for later. But
Yep.
yeah, I have yet to watch the newest episodes because I'm still kind of trying to get caught up on TV.
Yeah,
But I
I'm
know,
like behind. I watched like one of the new episodes. I'm like, what the heck is
yeah,
happening? I don't
apparently
understand.
season 7, a lot of fans are pissed right now about how
Yeah,
season 7 ended.
of
Not
course.
mostly because, unfortunately, they had to. I don't want to say write out because that's not the right term.
They had to put Rexy in a way to rest
Yeah, not only
for
did they
obvious
have to write
for obvious
around,
reasons.
yeah, so not only did they have, so to end season 7's defense, not only did they have to write around the fact that Diesel was getting sicker and sicker and eventually passed away, and train his nephew, it was his nephew,
Yep, nephews, both of them, Dylan and the other one,
and they had to not only
to take his
train his
place.
nephew to take Rex's place, but they also had to explain why John Reardon was unable to be on set as much because he was undergoing treatment for cancer.
And now he's cancer free.
He is, yes. I do want to point out
Finally.
he's free,
So yeah.
and he's feeling stronger, which is always a good thing.
Yep, and he's hanging out with his family
He,
more, which is awesome. And they have a
yeah,
YouTube channel.
they do. I think they only with home renovations, but the
Yep.
point being, they had to write. They had to temporarily kind of write out Charlie because or to allow for John to be able to, seek the treatment he needed and to rest. And they had to, they had all these things kind of going against them.
Yep.
But a lot of fans were like pissed because of the way
Well,
season
then they
7.
weren't really fans. I'm like, John can't control if he got sick or not. I'm like, I
Yeah,
don't care about like how they like write the show or anything, but the fact
no,
that
I
they were
they
willing to work
wrote it.
around the fact that the fact that they worked around him being sick
I
and the
don't
fact that
want
Diesel was no longer there.
I don't want to say how it ended because I read how it ended, and I don't want to say that how it ended because I don't want to spoil it for you.
Yep, I need to find it on an app and watch it like from the completion. I've only seen up until wait, how many seasons are there of Hudson and Rex now?
7,
7.
and
I've
there's good.
seen about halfway between like the halfway point of season 6. I need to finish watching season 6.
All right. You'll have to keep me updated on your reactions when you go through.
I will. It'll be emotional.
Probably. Um. All right. So since this episode kind of dealt with the supernatural, I want to ask: do you have any supernatural experiences
Kind of like
besides?
what I, yeah. Um, like, well, I briefly shared of kind of like my experience with the Whaley house and everything, but I've actually, you know how I work in a nursing home, right? I've seen some shit. I've experienced some shit. I've heard pots and pans move. I've heard footsteps, and I've seen shadows. So that's kind of like my paranormal experience. It's freaking creepy.
Mm, mine, I will always. Well, that kind of have two. The big one the big one I mentioned is when I went to Gettysburg and we walked Pickett's Charge on a school field trip, a history field trip, when I was in eighth grade. And I remember like feeling just death. Like that's what it was. It was like death, and I could feel like pain,
Hmm.
and it was the creepiest fucking feeling I've ever felt. And my other kind of supernatural experience was also being in an underground or being in the basement of the Rights Theater, my hometown theater, when the
Cool.
lights
And
were on.
creepy.
And
Creepy.
there were actual stories of it being haunted. And also being in the airport at midnight. You wouldn't think it would be creepy, but it's fucking creepy walking through an empty airport.
Of course.
And my mom had this like really weird sense that if she would like interacted with like some occupation of hers, she could usually like guess if they were gonna get better or if they were gonna like die. And she was like pretty damn accurate about how long it would like how long until someone passed away. And so you used to always joke that she was a witch because of that. Until she told me the story about this one of her older patients, this old lady who like held her hand, and she was like you have the gift. And my mom was like, yeah.
What the
I was,
fuck?
I was like,
That's
what?
so cool, but kind of creepy.
What? And then like me, like my experience at Gettysburg, and it was like, what the, you know? And then
I
my
mean,
brother,
and then like my experience, like I said earlier in this podcast, of walking through the Sally house and seeing that orb on my phone camera. I didn't like capture a video of it or anything. I was just holding my camera up and I was getting ready to take some stills and seeing that orb, probably the size about like this big, go from one corner of the screen by my hand, and I felt something walk by me on that side. But what was creepy, that's not even the fucking creepy part. I looked up and there's the portrait of the family in the clear case of the Whaley family. And I'm
Mhm.
like, I just calmly just said, I felt that, move away. And it stopped
Oh my
almost
god.
immediately. That was fucking creepy. But
Uh,
then there was footsteps on the other side, the little kitchenette on the other side of the wall.
oh my god.
But yeah, it was kind of cool. I would love to go find do like some like ghost hunting type of stuff here again. Go on a haunted tour around here, but there's nothing local,
I'm
which is really sad.
sure. Yeah. Is there nothing local around you or
It's too far of a drive.
ah
I mean, like going like to like Atchison and out to Dodge City. Those are the two biggest cities that have like haunted like places and stuff, and
yeah. City,
historical
that's the
shit.
so
Yep. One of these days.
all right. Do you have anything else you'd like to add before I start wrapping up?
No, just the fact that I love this show. It's my new comfort show.
Yeah. All right. So all right, wrap up. I want to thank our sponsor, nafgo.org. If you want, you can support our podcast by buying us a coffee at Films and Fandoms on Ko-Fi. Uh, Proceeds go to both me and Alex supporting us as content creators. We also have a Discord. This is the invite code. We also have an Instagram, FN Fandoms with Kayle and Lex. We also have a Twitter, FN Fandoms. Our Facebook is Films and Fandoms. My website, KayleeSantelActing.com. My Twitter, MissMovieFan_67. My TikTok, MovieFan_67. You could follow Alex on Instagram at Alex underscore the Alley Cat, Twitter and TikTok at Alex the Alley Cat, and go check out our friends at Mom Media Works. Or I think it's Mom Film Works, and I just never changed the damn banner. I'm gonna have to do that at some point. I'm gonna have to fix the banner. But yeah, go follow them on Facebook. Get up to date on what shenanigans they're up to, and yeah, and I might be up to some shenanigans too. Hmm. But yeah, so no, in all actuality, I am going to be helping a buddy of mine at TSA uh, with a film project where you might get to see me in action, getting my fucking Oklahoma on. Now, God damn it! Now I gotta go work out. Damn it! All right. Anyways, the next episode of Hudson and Rex we'd be talking about, I believe it's called School Days.
Yep.
So we go, I was going to say back to college, but I never went to college. So that failed. But our next podcast episode, we'll figure that out later.
Yep.
Any last words before I end the stream?
Nope. Just it was fun getting to do this again, even with
Yeah.
the technical glitches as
Yeah.
per usual.
Yeah, maybe we'll have to like take a day off and maybe troubleshoot that.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah,
my laptop. It's old.
yeah, that's a very likely explanation. All right, I'm gonna end stream, so we'll see y'all on the next episode.
Bye.
Bye.